Her hands trembled as she adjusted her dress for the 100th time. The soft fabric clung to her curves, and though she had chosen it carefully, something elegant but not flashy, her mind refused to quiet down. Every time she glanced in the mirror, the same whisper returned, cruel and merciless. "You're too fat. No one will ever want you." Samantha took a deep breath and forced herself to step into the little Italian restaurant downtown. The warm glow of candlelight, the faint hum of soft music, and the clinking of glasses filled the air. She had agreed to this blind date because her best friend, Clara, insisted she deserved love like anyone else. But as Samantha walked toward the table reserved under the name David, she felt every pair of eyes grazing her body, judging, calculating. David was already there, scrolling through his phone. He looked up as she approached, and for a brief second, Samantha thought she saw kindness in his eyes. But then his expression shifted, his lips curled, his eyes narrowed, and the kindness evaporated. "You're Samantha?" he asked, disbelief dripping from every syllable. "Yes," she said softly, managing a nervous smile. His jaw tightened. "Wow, look, I think there's been a mistake." Her smile faltered. "What do you mean?" "I was expecting someone different." His eyes darted to her body, lingering with disdain. "Someone who actually cares about themselves. You know, fit, healthy." The words sliced her like shards of glass. She tried to hold her breath steady, tried to stop the sting in her eyes. "I see," she whispered. He stood abruptly, brushing past her without even an apology. "Sorry, but this isn't going to work. Good luck." Samantha stood frozen, humiliation flooding her veins. The restaurant's atmosphere, once warm, now suffocated her. People pretended not to notice, but she felt their eyes. Her cheeks burned and her hands clenched the edge of her chair. She wanted to run, to hide, to disappear. But then a deep, calm voice spoke from the table beside hers. "Excuse me, miss. Would you care to sit here instead?" Startled, she turned. Sitting alone at the next table was a man in a perfectly tailored suit, his presence commanding yet gentle. His dark eyes held no judgment, only warmth. He gestured to the empty chair across from him. Samantha hesitated. I don't want to intrude." "You're not intruding," he said firmly. "No one deserves to be treated like that. Please join me." Her heart pounded as she slowly lowered herself into the chair. The man extended his hand. "Alexander Cole," he said. Her breath caught. The name was familiar, too familiar. She had read about him countless times in business magazines. He was the CEO of a leading tech company, a man known for turning failing businesses into empires. And now he sat across from her, offering her the kind of kindness she hadn't felt in years. "I'm Samantha," she said, her voice small. "A beautiful name for a beautiful woman," he replied without hesitation. Her cheeks flushed. She looked down, fiddling with the edge of her napkin. "You don't have to say that just because you feel sorry for me." "I don't pity you," he said, leaning forward slightly. "I say it because it's true." The sincerity in his tone disarmed her. For the first time in a long time, she felt seen, not as a body to be judged, but as a person worth knowing. They ordered dinner, and conversation flowed easily. Alexander asked about her passions, her work, her dreams. Samantha confessed her love for art, how she worked part-time as a graphic designer but longed to have her own studio one day. She told him how she sketched when the world became too heavy, how her drawings were the only place she felt weightless. He listened intently, nodding, his eyes never leaving hers. "You speak with so much passion. Why haven't you started your studio yet?" She shrugged, embarrassed. "Because people don't take someone like me seriously. Clients want someone who looks perfect. They don't believe in someone my size." His brows furrowed. "Then they're fools. Talent has nothing to do with waistlines. If you want this dream, you can make it happen." Her chest tightened at his words. They sounded so simple, yet they ignited something inside her, something she had buried under years of shame. By the time dessert arrived, Samantha was laughing, really laughing. The kind of laugh she hadn't let out in months. For 2 hours, she forgot about the humiliation, the cruel words, the pain of rejection. She was simply herself, and someone saw her, respected her. When they finally stood to leave, Alexander offered to walk her to her car. Outside, the cool night air brushed her skin. She turned to him, unsure what to say. "Thank you," she whispered. "For tonight, you didn't have to, but you did." "I wanted to," he said softly. Then, with a smile, "Would you allow me to see you again?" Her heart skipped. "You'd really want to?" "Of course," he said without hesitation. "I see someone worth knowing, Samantha, someone worth everything." That night, Samantha went home and cried, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming feeling of being valued. She looked at her reflection in the mirror and for the first time didn't immediately flinch. She was still the same woman, still carrying the same body, but now she carried something else too: hope. The days that followed were not easy. In fact, they were some of the hardest. Rejections from clients continued. Strangers still whispered cruel words on the street, but each time she remembered Alexander's voice. Talent has nothing to do with waistlines. Encouraged by his support, Samantha gathered her courage and began showcasing her art online. She shared her sketches, her digital designs, her creativity. Slowly, people began to notice. Orders trickled in, then grew steadily. Within months, she launched her own studio from her small apartment. Alexander was there through it all. He celebrated her first client. He encouraged her when self-doubt returned. And more importantly, he never once made her feel less than enough. With him, she was the obese girl or too fat to be loved. She was simply Samantha, the woman with dreams, the artist with fire in her soul. But challenges didn't disappear. The cruel world still found ways to test her. At an art showcase, a well-dressed critic sneered openly. "It's surprising someone like her could produce work this good." The words hit her like stones. For a moment, the old Samantha wanted to shrink, to hide. But then she saw Alexander across the room, nodding at her with steady confidence. She straightened her back and replied to the critic, "Talent doesn't ask for permission. It just speaks." Her voice didn't waver. The critic blinked, caught off guard, and others applauded. That night, Alexander pulled her into his arms and whispered, "I've never been prouder of you." Their bond grew stronger with each passing day. What began as kindness blossomed into something deeper. Love, not the shallow kind that clings to appearances, but the kind that sees the soul and cherishes it wholly. Months later, when Samantha opened her very own art gallery, she stood at the center of the room, surrounded by her paintings, tears welling in her eyes. Alexander was by her side, his hand steady in hers. People admired her work, praised her vision, and for the first time in her life she felt entirely, unapologetically enough. As the evening drew to a close, Alexander leaned close and said, "Remember the night we met? You thought you weren't worthy of love. Look around you now. Look at everything you've built. You were always worthy, Samantha, always." She smiled through her tears, finally believing it. The girl who had once been rejected for being too fat had not only found love but had also built a life filled with passion, purpose, and unshakable confidence. And as she looked into Alexander's eyes, she realized the greatest gift he had given her wasn't his love. It was the courage to love herself. Because sometimes, one moment of kindness can rewrite an entire story.